Thank you all for attending today's First Thursday with the Sustainability Alliance on Food Positive, a better life, one bite at a time. This month, we're excited to welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Habeeb, Assistant Professor of Chemistry at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, a recipient of the NSF Convergence Accelerator Grant to explore how to foster food positive communities and empower individuals through the implementation of culturally relevant solutions, ensuring sustainable food and nutritional security. Wow, cannot wait for today's presentation. So thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to the insights and experience you have, Dr. Habeeb, and to share with us on this important topic. And thank you to you all for joining us today as well and supporting the Sustainability Alliance and sustainability in your community. We're delighted to have you join us as we do every month here. Teresa is now going to launch an intro poll. Please take a moment just to answer a few quick questions. It really helps our programs committee understand what is important to you and how we can better serve you. So please take a moment. We appreciate that. It'll pop up in your Zoom window there while we begin. The programs we bring to our viewers like you, such as First Thursday events, would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. So I want to say a big thank you to the following sponsors who helped bring the educational resources and community connections to your screen each month. Thank you to our lead sponsor, Williams, our neighborhood partners, PSO of Oklahoma and PSO WinChoice, and our community advocates, Cavanta, The Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Air Systems, Tulsa Farmers Market, and Sustainable Advisors Alliance. Give them a round of applause and send them a thank you in the chat because we do really appreciate all of their support. And if you would like to join a list of sponsors, reach out to Morgan Fairley in the chat. She'll throw her contact information in there. We'd love to continue to add the support and growing support to First Thursdays and really sharing information out there to better raise the bar on sustainability in our community. And I also want to say thank you to our Sustainable Alliance board members. We appreciate all that you do to support and further our mission. I think today with us, we have Pam Taylor, Ann Money, and Richard Katarski. Thank them if you know them. We do appreciate all your support and what you do to help further our organization. And finally, I'd like to thank my team. I have an awesome team. They're hard at work, always bringing programs to you. Teresa Kerrigan, Jill Maud, Morgan Fairley, Zoe McGowan, and Missy Lukenbach. So if you send them a note of gratitude, because I am definitely thankful for all the work that they do and helping to bring our sustainability efforts to you. And if you're an individual that also wants to support us and what we do, becoming an individual supporter of the Sustainability Alliance is quick and easy. For $25, your name can be added to a growing list of change makers to our community, but no amount is too small to matter to us. So support us further with our sustainability education, help us with that, our Bellman Awards, First Thursdays events, B2B Case for Sustainability series, our scorecard program, TerraScore app, and more. So if you're interested, please help us out and join as a member and click there in the chat to donate today. We greatly appreciate it. And I also want to thank the Alliance for the work that they've been doing, but we have a Facebook group where you all can be a part of that and to better connect our community. So if you'd like to connect with other sustainability minded folks, not through the app, you can do that as well. But if you want to join them, you can do that through our Facebook group too, and continue to do that. Teresa will put that link there for you, and make sure you join the group chat for real-time updates and insights. So now I'd like to introduce our sponsors. We'll start with a video from our lead sponsor, Williams.
At Williams, we're focused on adding new technology and operating practices that deliver right here, right now reductions in global emissions, cutting-edge emissions measuring and monitoring, certifiable and transparent emissions data, real-time energy optimization across the natural gas value chain, integration and delivery of the fuels of the future, meeting global energy demand and global climate goals. For us, this is just the beginning. Williams, we make clean energy happen.
Big thank you to Williams. And next, we have our neighborhood partner at PSO. We thank them for their support and all the work they do out there when it comes to energy efficiency. And the Met offers recycling services throughout the year through their drop-off sites and special recycling events, and proudly provides meaningful employment for individuals with disabilities. So find out more by visiting metrecycles.com. And we also have Save Our Streams. It's the City of Tulsa department that promotes healthy waterways and pollution prevention through their stormwater quality programs. So from environmental inspections and household pollutant collections, they offer a variety of services to help you help our stream. So get in touch with them via email at stormwaterquality@cityoftulsa.org if you have any questions. And next, our Tulsa Farmers Market here, which takes place every Saturday for their summer session, and it's from May to November in the Kendall-Whittier district. It's the spring market. The spring market began in April and has been bustling since, every Saturday. And if you have never been, we encourage you to go and make your first session to support the local farmers and the makers. And we are personally launching a community challenge with the farmers market this week, and it'll be through the TerraScore app. So we'll launch that this Saturday, July 8th. The challenge is locavore lifestyles, and it will provide activities, competitions, scavenger hunt, and prizes, all while supporting local farmers. So stop by the market booth on Saturday and visit with the Sustainability Alliance, and we'd love to see how your progress is going. We'll be out there on July 15th. Last but not least, our newest First Thursday community advocate sponsor is Sustainable Advisor Alliance. And to learn more about this innovative co-op financial advisor group that can help you manage your investment portfolio in a sustainable manner and provide solutions for your profit bottom line, they offer no minimum requirements to start investing your dollars today. So get in touch with Julie Skye and learn more by visiting their website. I'm sure she'll drop a little note there in the chat. So thank you, Julie. So, okay, well, on to our presentation. Again, thank you to all of our sponsors. Please give them a thank you in the chat, because we could not share this amazing program with you today without that. So I would love to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Habeeb. Dr. Habeeb is a renowned scholar in physical chemistry, holding a BS and a PhD from the esteemed University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee as an assistant professor at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. She spearheaded a groundbreaking research in biomedical materials and STEM education. With a deep passion for empowering communities, Dr. Habeeb currently leads a remarkable $750,000 National Science Foundation grant. Her vision project focuses on developing culturally relevant food literacy programming that transcends traditional boundaries by integrating cultural content and community engagement. Dr. Habeeb aims to empower individuals to make informed choices about nutrition and sustainability. So super excited to hear from you, Dr. Habeeb. And the impact extends beyond her research endeavors. She's deeply committed to inspiring the next generation of scientists through her dedication to STEM education. Her inclusive teaching methods and community outreach efforts create opportunities for students from diverse backgrounds to explore their scientific curiosity. With her remarkable academic background, pioneering research, and commitment to community empowerment, Dr. Habeeb is a transformative figure in the physical chemistry and STEM education. Her work continues to shape the future of scientific research, education, and community well-being. So welcome to First Thursdays and the Sustainability Alliance, Dr. Habeeb.
Thank you, Corey, for that wonderful introduction. No pressure. So give me a moment while I get my slides up here, but I wanted to say thank you to the Sustainability Alliance for inviting us to present our research. And get the slides up here. Are the slides visible?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, Corey, Sustainability Alliance, thank you very much for inviting us here. And this is important for the research community. It's not, we at the research community, we are working tirelessly to improve health, the well-being of our community. And we're coming to the realization that it needs to come out of the research lab and it needs to have social impact. So funders like the National Science Foundation are funding this translation of research out of the lab and having societal impact. And the grant that we have received from the National Science Foundation, Convergence Accelerator, is specifically to address food and nutrition issues. And so we are very pleased to present to you our research so far, which we call Food Positive, and we are striving for a better life one bite at a time. Now, I am the principal investigator on this grant, but I represent a wonderful, wonderful team. I could not be here presenting you without this team. And a lot of them are here in this meeting, so do feel free to interact with them as well. I'm from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, and we are the lead institute. We are partnering with the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences, also located in Arkansas, as well as 4-H from the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture, Research and Extension Wing. Going alphabetically, my wonderful team includes Ms. Tiki Hunt. She is the director of 4-H at our university. Dr. Satish Panaya from UAPB. He is an agriculture professor with an expertise in plant science. Dr. Vinay Raj, he is an expert in public health. Dr. Yasser Sanad, expert on food safety. Dr. Michael Thompson from the medical school. He is the director for the Center of Obesity and has an interest in public health. Wilberforce is our graduate student from computer science. Linda Williams is from the medical school, a program manager, but an author of numerous science textbooks. So she is a very good science communicator as well. Henry Brooks IV from UAPB, he's our political science expert. So we want to be able to address policy with some of our outcomes. Dr. Tasnuva Inam from UAPB, she's a cognitive psychologist. Dr. David Fernandez from UAPB, he's our agriculture extension specialist, our senior advisor, and the person who keeps reminding us to come out of the lab and keep that 35,000-foot view on our project. And last but not least, Dr. Suzette Goldman. She is our nutrition expert from the hospitality department at UAPB. So this wonderful team is, this is the work of this entire team. And a little bit more about us. Now, we are a very, very interdisciplinary team. And what we thought to do would be fun was to put all our disciplines into a word cloud and see what comes up. And we are delighted to see that even though we have our own technical expertise in chemistry, nutrition, and whatever it is, we are united by our grounding in science, with our desire to communicate with the public on health-related issues and improve health outcomes. So this is who we are and what unites us and what drives us. So with that, a little bit about the grant that we have received from the National Science Foundation Convergence Accelerator. It is a fairly new program, but we have a phase 1 grant, $750K. And this grant is trying to bring multidisciplinary expertise, like the team the Food Positive team, but also to have cross-cutting partnerships. So to go academia partnering with government, private sector, nonprofits, to do something more cross-sector. And the difference here is we're doing use-inspired research. So we're building on basic research that we're doing in the research community and trying to look at it, trying to get societal impact by focusing on the end user. To do that, NSF is providing us with an innovation curriculum to help us have societal impact, and ultimately to develop a prototype of a solution that addresses food and nutrition security. Now with that, let me talk about the problem that we're trying to solve. So food and nutrition security, there are many different aspects. And just to ground us geographically where we're coming from. So the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff is located specifically in the southeastern part of the state in Jefferson County. The medical school is located more centrally in the state in Little Rock. And The eastern border of Arkansas is the Mississippi River. So on the other side of the river is the state of Mississippi. So the area that UAPB serves is mostly agricultural, and it lies in the Mississippi Delta region. So a very rich agricultural rural area. Now, unfortunately, the problems, there is a relationship between underserved rural populations and poor health outcomes, for example, diabetes. So as of 2022, the prevalence of diabetes in the US is about 11%. Arkansas as a state, a little bit above that at 13. Zoom in on the southeastern part of Arkansas, about 15. And then some of these counties are as high as the 20s. So we have a very disproportionately effect of chronic health diseases in the southeastern part of Arkansas. But this problem is influenced by the environment, what kind of foods are available, because there is a strong relationship between diet and health outcomes. So these areas of high chronic diseases tend to be areas that are also food deserts or food swamps. So either healthy foods are not available, or they are swamped by these highly processed foods that are more readily available, accessible, and cheap. And these are contributing to the high rates of cardiometabolic disease. And this is not just a problem in Southeast Arkansas, this is becoming a national problem. So this is a trend showing the prevalence of diabetes over the years, and it is just increasing. So we're seeing a problem with not just diabetes, but chronic health disease in general. Now, chronic health diseases are related to obesity. And from the Millikan Institute in 2023, there are dollar consequences to not addressing obesity. So about $500 million are accounted for in healthcare costs for obesity, and then about $1.24 trillion in indirect costs that are lost in economic productivity because of obesity. Combine these two dollar figures together and you come up with about 10% of the US domestic product. So obesity is a serious problem, not just health-wise, but economic productivity of the country. And but because it's a choice, it's a diet-related choice, this is a problem that's very difficult to tackle because we're talking about behavior change. So at UAPB, we are trying to address obesity and food choice. And because we are in a food desert and a food swamp, how do we make nutritionally dense foods more available and more accessible? So UAPB, we have a Sweet Potato Foundation seed program where, so sweet potatoes they're a local and seasonal product in the Mississippi Delta region. And so to help farmers with propagating and optimizing harvest for sweet potatoes, a little bit about how sweet potatoes are grown. They are a vine. And so when farmers grow them, the starting material is to get vine clippings from trusted sources. Unfortunately, sweet potato is a crop that is affected by fungal infections or virus infections. So it is imperative that these clippings that the farmers are getting to start their crop need to be checked for viruses. So what the UAPB Sweet Potato Foundation program does is we provide virus-free cuttings at reduced cost to farmers. So these have been checked and they are virus-free because these viruses will affect crop yield. Now, this program has increased the yield of sweet potatoes in Arkansas by 66% from 2012 to 2018. And it accounts for about 90% of sweet potato acreage in Arkansas. So we are having a very big impact on improving sweet potatoes. And because of where we're located and who we are as an institution, we are the highest impact is for small scale and socially disadvantaged farmers in the Mississippi Delta region. So we are having a real impact on improving the livelihood of farmers by growing a local and seasonal product that's nutritionally dense and therefore is sustainable in the long run because it's growing where it should be. Now, this so this is sweet potatoes is something local to the Mississippi Delta. There are other researchers working on improving crops of local and seasonal produce wherever they are, corn, potatoes, whatever it is. The research community is trying to improve the availability of nutrient-dense foods. But here's the issue that we're running into. Once these nutrient-dense foods appear in the supermarket, they're available, they're affordable, will people change their behavior and choose to eat these nutrient-dense foods? So this is the issue that we wanted to address. So what we did was we conducted user and end user interviews. We talked to people in our immediate Southeastern Arkansas community and asked them, what were the barriers to eating healthier foods if they were available? So what I'm going to show you is a representation of some of the feedback that we got. So, but do imagine yourself, and this is the wonderful thing about doing food and nutrition research is we all eat food. So we all have a very personal say and opinion about food. It's called positionality. So just imagine if someone came to you and said, you need to eat healthier food. What will your reaction be? Based on our end user interviews, these were some of the responses that I'm going to represent. I don't have time to cook. $7 for salad. Why should I listen to you? I don't like cooking. There's no store nearby. What is wrong with my culture? So as you can get a feeling, if we want people to eat healthier food, at some point we're asking them to eat healthier food. These are some of the defensive reactions that might get, and these are perfectly human. So this is the challenge we are facing. These are social and psychological barriers to eating healthier food. So having done these end user interviews, we realize that the bottleneck lies between what we find in the research lab and how to get that research and have societal impact. So there is plenty of diet-related research being done that have come up with evidence-based interventions. So eating more fiber, eating 5 fruits a day, this messaging, these are evidence-based interventions. Research has proven that there is a positive effect by adopting these behaviors and choices. However, how do you take those interventions developed in a research setting with very controlled environments? You control the variables, the people who are running these research studies are very highly qualified. How do you take it from this perfect research setting, adapt it, implement it in a community setting in real life where things are not under your control? And even if you are able to do it, how do you evaluate success? How many people are coming to your class? People may be coming to your class, but are they really practicing what they're learning? So this is where Food Positive comes in. And this is where we realized that there needs to be a better connection between research and social impact, and especially those who are directly connected and engaging with the community, taking these evidence-based interventions and implementing them directly in the community. So Food Positive, we envision this to be a consultation service run by that incredibly diverse team that I showed you. And what we would do is we would work with an organization that is implementing one of these, directly interacting with the community. Either we would identify an evidence-based intervention directly from research, or there is a curriculum that is already being implemented, we would look at that evidence-based intervention, and we would conduct a landscape analysis based on where this intervention needs to be implemented. And we would help you to identify assets and barriers to implementing this particular evidence-based intervention. And the reason, and we would do the, and understanding the assets and the barriers means that these organizations that have funding or can apply for grants, by understanding the assets and the barriers, those grants can be more strategic. Assets can be leveraged, barriers can be overcome, those grants become more intelligent and more strategic and more competitive. Now, what do we do with this landscape analysis? Once we find out what the barriers are, what the assets are in a particular community, what do we do? How do we make sure that we are actually having the positive impact that we want? Well, behind all of these evidence-based interventions, particularly when it comes to eating healthy food, ultimately what is being done is behavior change. We're trying to change behavior towards choosing healthier foods. Now, and behavior change is something that is actually very well studied in the social and behavioral science discipline. And there are a lot of frameworks out there that talk about how does behavior change happen. A very simple framework is the social and cognitive theory, and it has been adapted for social impact by Alfred Bandura. And very simply, what ingredients do you need for behavior change? So what this theory says is for an outcome, you need three things. You need knowledge. So in the case of a food nutrition intervention, the knowledge would be, for example, how to cook, why we need what does healthy even look like? So to make sure that the recipients of this knowledge are competent in that knowledge, but they're also confident. That's what self-efficacy is, that they have the knowledge and they're confident to practice it. The second ingredient is to make sure we understand the environment that this intervention is happening in. And what we mean by that is, what does social support look like in these, where these interventions are happening? Physical access. If we're teaching about healthy food, is healthy food even available in the first place? Or do we need to be creative and talk about community gardening if there are no stores available? And also to think about technology. How are we going to deliver this literacy programming? Is it going to be in person, virtual, hybrid, a website, active learning? So these are things to think about. And the last ingredient has to do with behavior itself and more pre-existing behavior. So what are the pre-existing habits, skills, or attitudes towards this intervention that you're trying to implement? So what we would do with this landscape analysis is to try to identify assets and barriers in these three aspects for behavior change, and to make sure that the outcome, the desired behavior change is happening, is to make sure that the intervention or the implementation is culturally appropriate or adapted in these three areas, so that it is appropriate for the local needs of the community being targeted. So this is a description of Food Positive and what we want to do and why we want to do it. But I thought, I'm a science educator first and foremost, and lecturing only goes so far. So I'd like to make it interactive, and I'd like to switch to, I'd like your input. I'll go through an example of what this might look like, and I'll try to keep it interactive. So get your chat open. I'm going to be asking you for feedback. So let's go through an example of what this process, this Food Positive process would look like. So let's pick one evidence-based intervention, and that is consuming 30 grams of fiber a day. And the messaging has been really good, that eating a certain amount of fiber a day, ideally 30 grams a day, has numerous positive health benefits, not just on obesity, but heart health, diabetes, gut health. I think that messaging is there from the research community. It's eating fiber is important. However, how do we implement it? Here's the issue. So the first thing a food positive consultation would be is if a community organization wants to do this intervention, provide literacy and programming so that clientele can consume 30 grams of fiber a day, the first thing we would do is look at this study and help you to understand which parts of this intervention are what we call core components, meaning non-negotiable. We cannot change it, we cannot adapt it. And identify what the periphery components are. What that means is these are like the negotiable parts. These are things that can be adaptable depending on what your audience, on the needs of your audience. So the 30 grams of fiber a day, I think we can understand, it's kind of obvious. The non-negotiable part of this intervention is we got to eat 30 grams of fiber a day. So whatever we do, we cannot compromise on that number, and we have to continually reinforce, and that's the goal, to consume 30 grams of fiber a day. But what are the negotiable parts of this intervention? Well, 30 grams of fiber a day, there are plenty of foods available that have a fiber-rich food. So we can play around with what kind of foods that a certain community is culturally preferred. For example, in where we are in southeastern Arkansas, we can really play up the sweet potatoes because that is local and seasonal. In a different part of the country, we would need to explore and see, make sure whatever we're offering is culturally relevant to that particular area. Recipes. Now, when I think of fiber, I usually think of salad, but I can't eat a salad every day. But there is plenty of cooked foods that are available that are high in fiber. So what would those recipes look like? Now, when we talk about things that are negotiable, there are still some limits to how much we can adapt a particular intervention. So for example, we can choose recipes, cooked sweet potatoes, but we need to be still careful about the salt, fat, and sugar that we are adding to the sweet potato to make sure that we're not creating another health problem. So even though we are adapting something according to cultural need, there's still some guardrails on how much of what we can do. Another thing we can adapt is the language that this programming is going to happen in, so that there's something perfectly negotiable here. And location. So for a community, some of the things we found in our interviews that if transportation is an issue, location does matter. So do we want people to come to a place that they don't normally go to? They have to make a special trip? Or is it a place where they already go? Maybe it's a religious center, a public library. So we can think about location. So after having decided from an intervention what's negotiable and what's not negotiable, this is where the cultural adaptation and implementation happens. So now I'd like to focus on understanding some negotiable parts of this particular 30 grams of fiber a day. So here I'm going to switch to my whiteboard, and this is where the interactive piece is going to start. So when we are looking at the negotiable parts, barriers and assets, that social cognitive theory, there was barriers to knowledge, to environment, to pre-existing behaviors. So if you could start putting in the chat some barriers that you may have seen, and we'll try to group them and classify them in these categories. All right, grocery store too far is one of them. So that would be an environment. Let's call that access. Yeah, no car, that's access. Running out of time before ingredients spoil, that's a good one. So I'm going to put that under knowledge. That comes under knowledge of food storage. No time to cook. So I'm going to put that under environment. And that's actually a big one that we've seen. And actually, let me, education and finances. Education, yep, so just basic literacy. Finances, some of it is environment, some of it could be knowledge. There is some sort of financial literacy that could be done. And actually, habits. I'm going to put preparation time here as cooking time. That's also a habit. Actually open my chat a little bit better. And I'm sorry I cannot capture everybody's. Struggle to make the choices, so much information, analysis, analysis paralysis, and just eat what's there. So I would put that under knowledge, how to make a good choice. And sometimes it's environment, things are overwhelming. Not used to cooking or cooking veg specifically, that's kind of a knowledge, that's kind of a habit. Yeah, making healthy food taste great. That's the culturally relevant part. So can we get recipes that meet local taste profiles, competing priorities, convenience, perception that meat is healthy or important? Yeah, so that's a pre-existing habit. So I'll put perceptions of meat there. All right, so these are very valid and important barriers. Yep, variety is another one, choices. Okay, now let me flip the script a little bit. Looking in your community, are there any assets that we can leverage? And let me give you an example. So knowledge, trying to convince people that eating healthy is important. Sometimes it's an uphill battle. But there may be pockets in the community where people are ready to change. They want to change, but they just don't know how. For example, athletic clubs, sports clubs, because there's a good relationship between nutrition and competitive sport and performance, maybe that particular group is ready for change. We know we want to change, but how to do it? So that's an asset to leverage. So let's see. So an asset might be to target people in sports clubs. Another asset, faith communities, yep. Because people already gather here. And actually, I'm going to put faith communities under environment. And let's see, employer-based programs. Yep, that is a good one. And I saw farm deliveries, support groups. Community cook-alongs, yeah. So there is something local, something pride, showcasing something happening in the community. family gatherings, potlucks. Yeah, so these are all things that can be leveraged. So as you can see, where I'm going here with this, and I think there is time to chat a little bit more, but where we're going with this is if an organization was going to write a grant to implement a particular food literacy curriculum, here is the kind of analysis that would be useful to do. Identifying some of the barriers, but also identifying assets that can be leveraged and how to make things culturally appropriate to the community that is being served. And so this grant that will now be more strategic, and by being more strategic, it's more likely to be competitive and to have better impact. Now, also doing this exercise also helps with identifying how do we evaluate? Because if the ultimate goal is to reduce obesity, the common thing to think of is, oh, a measure of success is going to be people are going to be losing weight. But the research community will tell you it takes decades before, it takes many years before the needle on obesity moves. So that may not be a good thing to measure if a grant or a funding source is, you need to see results within a year. So other things that other ways to evaluate impact could be attendance, engagement, confidence, and self-efficacy and confidence. Do people feel more confidence after attending these classes with this new knowledge that they have from this food literacy programming? So there are a variety of ways to evaluate a program for their success. And once you have identified a way to measure impact, it's good to measure that in the middle of the grant to do an audit mid-grant, and that's what a food positive would help with as well, is to conduct an audit in the middle of this grant to see if there's any need for course correction during implementation. And then at the end, once the grant is done, we would do a final report based on this evaluation process, and leverage this final report to apply for the next grant. So in summary, food positive, we have where our vision is to improve, to have a better life one bite at a time, and to take existing evidence-based interventions and implement them and culturally adapt them so that they can be implemented with high societal impact. So I think this is a time for discussion. So I'll stop talking here, and I would love to hear feedback, comments, but thank you very much, Sustainability Alliance, for this opportunity to present this work.
Thank you so much, Dr. Habeeb. This has been so interesting, and definitely, I know there's a lot of people on the call that manage other types of grants to be able to kind of even think through the lens of just management of the grants. But this particular topic is so relevant, and as it relates to the triple bottom line: people, profit, and planet. It just covers it all. So yeah, if there's any questions, please throw those in the chat, and we will have also some time after the program. If you want to visit directly with Dr. Habeeb, we'll have some more time. But that was, you kind of touched on the very end. It's like when the ultimate goal is to change people's health, and that does take time. Are you finding that with your grantors that having these, 1-year reviews is enough to indicate that success is happening?
If you're looking at health-related outcomes, it's difficult to convince funders that there is going to be specific. If you're doing health indicators like blood sugar, obesity, those biomarkers, as we call them, those take years to have an impact. So a lot of funders are not convinced, especially if it's a short grant, that is the best way to evaluate a program. Now, attendance is a good one. Food habits are another one. but people can come, but do they actually learn? And this is the point of view of an educator. People can show up to a class, but they may not perform well on an exam. So the better way, and the social and behavioral sciences discipline is moving towards accepts confidence. There is a way to measure confidence on a survey, and they call it self-efficacy, but that seems to be a better way to measure evaluation. So that's something we would like to incorporate in our research.
Great. Okay, thank you. And I think Morgan has joined us to help facilitate some questions. Morgan?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Habeeb. That was a great and informative presentation. I did really like the interactive part. I think it got a lot of our minds mulling on this. So I've got a few questions here from the chat. I'll start with the first one, which is about recipe cards. Is this something you have created to make it, really easy to eat these dense, high fiber foods? And if so, are there any resources you can share on this?
When we started this research, we originally thought that there wasn't enough culturally appropriate food literacy programming. So we went into this project thinking we will create a food literacy program that is culturally appropriate. But when we did interviews, we found that those already exist. And organizations like 4-H who engage in community, they have existing recipe booklets and food literacy programming, and they already, the folks who implement it on the ground, they already adapt and mix and match their curriculum to meet the needs of their community. But the issue is this implementation, not really not identifying the assets and the bad, so that implementation part is not happening, and they don't have the impact that they need, and the program is not as widely spread out. So resources wise, there are already a lot existing in the community. 4-H is one of them. I suggest looking up your local 4-H agency and becoming a volunteer if you have time, and then you can implement some of their curriculum. The agriculture extension offices already have a lot sitting on a website looking for someone to implement it. So I was very surprised to see the information is there. It's looking for someone to implement it.
Great answer. Thank you. This one is, are all core components such as eating 30 grams of fiber a day equal? Are there some that are more important than others, or is it that we should be looking at this holistically and trying to get, each of those kind of core components in our daily diet?
Sorry, maybe can I clarify? Is this specifically the 30 grams of fiber?
I think in general, more like we know that the 30 grams of fiber is one of those components. We didn't explore maybe, all the other ones, but are all of those components really equal in the eyes of this idea? Or is it that, the fiber piece is maybe more important than the,
okay. Yeah, no, yeah, let me clarify. I just chose 30 grams of fiber a day as an example. There are other studies like 5 fruits or vegetables a day. That's another one to probably help get the 30 grams of fiber more accessible. So the 30 grams of fiber is not the only dietary intervention is there. There are others as well. This was just a very specific example. This is what we do in the research world. We try to find one thing and to make sure it has any effect or not before we tell the public this is what you should be doing. So yeah, this is, thank you for that question. So this is, I think as researchers, we need to be better at our messaging and saying, no, this is not the only thing, but this is part of some things.
Okay, great. No, that definitely helps. Another question from the chat, are there any plans to take this project into elementary, middle, or high schools?
Yeah. So 4-H, for example, is an organization that already does that. And so we are really what we're hoping to do is to help people who are already trying to target different parts of the community. K through 12 is a very good example. So if someone or you are trying to get into the K through 12 community, Food Positive would help you be more strategic in what you want to do, to try to understand your audience better.
I think that could be a big asset for, I know some of the people that have joined us today and in past presentations are definitely interested in that aspect. So we'll have to continue to share that message.
Yeah.
This one is twofold. Do you only work, and you might have kind of answered it already. So do you only work in the Southeast Arkansas region, or what are the requirements that you look for in an organization to work with them?
We are by no means limited to Southeast Arkansas. We just thought because this is our neighborhood, we should test to make sure that everything's working with our immediate community. But we want to have scalable impact. So we are looking to partner on a more national level scale. All we ask for is if you're interested, please do contact us and we're ready to talk.
And if you wouldn't mind, Dr. Habeeb, maybe put your contact info in the chat for everyone in case they want to reach out directly. I only have two more questions. The next one is, are there any particular approaches or techniques to avoid the perception of threatening existing culture when advising communities on change? So really that messaging piece.
Yeah, no, this is a very good one. And this is something, even as a teacher, I try not to go into my chemistry classes and you're going to be a great chemist, so that's why you're here kind of a thing. That's a little bit pushy. So what I've realized is you need to build trust. Once you got trust, the open-mindedness is there, and you're ready to start moving forward. So the best thing to do, what we found, is to first understand the community. So don't tell them what to do. First, ask them, understand them, what their barriers are, ask open-ended questions. And first and foremost is trust.
Thank you.
Then once those two are there, everything else will follow through.
Great advice. The last one that we have, unless there's any others in chat, is how do you navigate mental health issues related to eating healthy, or encourage a balance between knowing the nutritional value of what you're eating without increasing obsessive or compulsive behaviors?
Yeah, that's a very good one. And this is going towards the medical field. So this is why we're partnering with the medical school, so that if a community organization needs that resource, we would be able to refer them to someone who has a medical or health expertise in eating disorders. So this is really all about you're discovering a barrier, having a Food Positive and interdisciplinary team, multi-organizational, we can connect you with the resource that you need.
I love that. That is so important. And I think definitely something that's missing in a lot of things today. We did get one last question in the chat, so we'll end on this note, but do you know of any correlation between food positivity and the number of pharmacies or healthcare clinics in a community?
That's an interesting one. I'm not sure what it's asking, actually.
I think they're maybe saying, is that something that you're looking into or would consider looking into when it comes to kind of this program existing in a successful way in places where maybe there's a lack of pharmacies or healthcare clinics, or vice versa? Is there any type of relationship that you might see or find possible between kind of moving in this food positive direction and that maybe it's more of the access piece towards, healthcare clinics and things like that?
Okay. We haven't found any correlation yet. Well, the honest answer is I don't know. I'm
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
The
But
person that asked said that they're going to stick around for the open chat, so I think we can
oh,
dive in there.
thank you. I would love to hear more about this. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Habeeb, for answering those questions. I think we're going to wrap up the rest of the presentation. And then, of course, everyone, we'd invite you to stick around at 1 p.m. We'll have open discussion with Dr. Habeeb at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Corey, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Morgan. And thank you, Dr. Habeeb. I mean, again, a wonderful presentation. Love the questions from the community as well. And thank you for taking the time to your thoughtful responses. Teresa's going to launch an exit poll now while we begin the last little bit here. So please take a moment to answer that. And also, want to say thank you to everyone that joined. And there's a couple other things coming up. We've launched at the beginning of the year a pilot with our newest programs called First Steps this year. We launched that in January at the pleasure of hosting Rabbi Mark Boone Fitzgerman of the congregation B'nai Emunah to share what the program looks like and how to get involved. So pilot signups will close in August. So if you're interested in working with your congregation or a faith group to make an environmental and community impact, please reach out to Missy, and her information is there in the chat. Additionally, many of you are here today as members of Scorecard, but for those who are not and know the Scorecard program is for organizations who are tracking and improving their sustainability efforts in the area of people, profit, and planet. So Scorecard has helped save organizations millions of dollars ever since we kicked off this program. So if you're interested in learning more, please reach out to Teresa Kerrigan, our Scorecard director. Her information is there in the chat. And we have our big celebration is coming up Thursday, July 27th, and that will be honoring the remarkable success and achievements of our Scorecard members during the 2022-2023 cycle. So if you are curious about getting your organization started with Scorecard, this would be a great way to learn what some of the leaders are doing in the space of sustainability and what their journey's been like. So please make a point to join us. And we're delighted to have the Oklahoma Aquarium as our presenting sponsor. So setting the stage for a beautiful event and opportunity to mingle later and in the presence of marine life. And so we hope that you'll enjoy that and come with us and be a part of that. So informational is there in the chat for you to join. And also, if you didn't know about our app, we want to help and you want to help take action and impact outside of First Thursdays, download TerraScore. It's free on Apple and Android devices to learn about sustainable habits and compete in the challenges. We've got one coming up this week. So make that collective impact and inspire others along the way. Some of the items that were spoken about today are in TerraScore. So join us. We'd love to have you. And you can see the QR code there on the screen. You can download that today. So also, we've got our next August 1st Thursday event coming up, and that'll feature Jennifer Evans from Austin Creative Reuse Center. So should be another interesting conversation around waste diversion. So we'd love to have you join us on that. So don't miss out. Registration's there in the chat. And last but not least, we are celebrating and have our big annual fundraiser called Recharge, September 28th. It's a way to help us sponsor all of these different programs, help to support that. So join us for this event. It'll be open sky at Brush Creek Ranch, and the evening is going to be under the stars. So promise to be truly enchanting, and we'll be absolutely delighted to have you in attendance. But we also have a new thing that we're doing this year. It's the green ticket, and you have a chance to win over $1,000 worth of sustainability ventures, experiences, and goods that help you kick off your sustainability habits and lifestyle, and or share some of those with your family and friends. So great opportunity there. We hope you'll join us. Again, thank you to our sponsors, lead sponsor Williams, our neighborhood partners, Public Service Company of Oklahoma, PSO Wind Choice, our community advocates, Cavanta, the Met, One Oak, Save Our Streams, Spirit Air Systems, Tulsa Farmers Market, and Sustainable Advisors Alliance. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you at our next First Thursday on Zoom, August 3rd. So see you there. Thank you so much. But stick around. We'll be here to visit briefly with Dr. Habeeb. So thank you again. Have a great rest of the day.